Hey folks, welcome back in another Pokemon Master video. Today let's talk a bit about the new units right in the Datamined, which surprisingly enough had more units than the last one, even though there's only like one summable unit, but like, you know, more in terms of like whether it's like new units or units that got changes, because obviously, I mean, the second half of the month is generally when we get the Pokemon Masters Day, right, which does give us a lot of units. And speaking of, I forgot one of them. There we go, Cynthia Power Boost as well. All right. So it's really only just one new summable unit, which is this guy, right? And then everyone else this is free, basically free, and this is an old, you know, Poke Fair that got power boosted, right? So, all right, let's talk about them. I'm just gonna throw up a quick disclaimer first. All right, let's talk about these units then. So, I mean, let's just get the obvious one out of the way. The most obvious one is clearly Steven, right? How many are there? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Yeah. I mean, he's the best unit of this bunch. Number 2 is not close, right? No one else is close to as good as he is. He is arguably, you can argue that he could potentially be the best unit in the game. I'm still not there yet. Personally, I still have to see how he, you know, works out in game and all that stuff, right? But if you do think he's the best unit in the game, I wouldn't really argue with you, just because of how powerful he is, right? Obviously, he's got all 4 different forms that he could do. All 4 different forms give you different things, and especially his attack form is very powerful, right? Being, you know, just an insane damage dealer. As you can see, he has eclipsed again. He has eclipsed SS Serena as a #1 damage dealer in the game. Slightly ignore these. These are either 2-turn moves or like Guzma's like 2 misses and then 1 dynamic punches for that much. But like, yeah, outside of like the gimmick, you know, moves, right? #1 damage dealer in game in terms of and the other thing about it is, like, over like some of these other guys, like, you know, Maxi or whatever, right? He is like a single target, right? He is single target, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, outside of that, he also does have the highest AoE nuke in the game, right? Of course, you're not comparing it to like all these guys, but if you do want to see, you know, striker AoE nukes, he is at the top over here, 4.8 million. Obviously, very powerful. Everyone on top of him are all, you know, single target tech nukes. And then I think the next closest one was SS Arena, right? Which is what, more than 1 million lower, which is a lot, right? So yeah, obviously again, very powerful. His defense form should be an incredible tank. His normal form is a very nice tech unit that could set Psychic Terrain. You know, I got the flinches, right? And I don't know, there's like, you can debuff with him as well, right? A lot of really nice things that you could do. Speed form is a bit gimmicky. Mostly going to be used for like speed runs or whatever, right? But also nice as well, I guess, to an extent, if you care about using that. Probably not, again, like I mentioned before in the previous video, it's probably not going to be like super useful for the, you know, casual base to use, but still, it's fun. Who cares, right? Moving on. So next, probably going to be Garchomp, right? Garchomp got a really nice boost there. First of all, if you do care about super effective stages, right, she does have that extra 50% up on her regular move, right? Super duper effective 5, which is nice, but obviously again not universal because it's only, you know, super effective stage. But outside of that, you got these extra, you know, power-up nodes, right, for free, speed and attack, which are very good, obviously. And then you have Sandblaster 5 Haymaker, making her a very nice nuker, finally. And yeah, that's just really good. And because of the recent ground zone, right, boost to her, so that also obviously helps her a lot as well. So yeah, all really good stuff over there. She's good, man. She's really nice now. She's really it's crazy to see how how better she is, because like before all these buffs, she was like borderline, you know, you could argue she was probably like the worst Poke Fair, but now she's pretty freaking good now. She's really nice. And she you know, Cynthia Garchomp, man, She got the respect that she deserves, all right? Moving on, next I'd actually say Giovanni. This Giovanni I really, really like, man. The more I look at this kid, the more I like this guy. So, a lot of really, really nice things here, obviously. He's got the max crit buffs. He has +3, potentially +4 if you pick up, you know, the nodes on the grid for attack, special attack, or +6 if you pick up MP refresh. But again, I've already talked about the advantages of just taking the +4 over the +6, right? So you don't really need the MP refresh for +6. There's just not that many units in the game that really use it. He also does have support EX, which is nice, right? He does have catalyst, which is cool, as you know, a gauge thing, right? Outside of that, you could tank a few hits. Not gonna be a crazy good tank or whatever, right? But you know, should be decent with first aid, safety tether, quick cure, natural remedy if I remember correctly, right? Yeah, natural remedy, got speedy entry as well, so it should be pretty nice on the gauges with a relatively high base speed at you know, EX. I mean, it's still pretty high at, you know, without the EX, but yeah, so he's really nice, man. He's really, really nice as a support. So yeah, and he's free. Moving on, next probably Zenya. There's a few things I do want to mention about Zenya. When I talk about Mega Rayquaza being good, I'm generally talking about her Sync Nuke plus Draco Meteor. I'm not really talking about her Dragon Ascent, because Zenya's Dragon Ascent is just not as good as you know, Draco Meteor / Dragon Nuke Zenya, right? And here's a distinction that I kind of would like to make, right? Because when we're doing like tier lists, right, we're trying to put these units in their, we're trying our best at least, you know, in their best possible situations, as you saw in the disclaimer earlier, right? It was like number 4, right? Whatever. And if we're ranking the most powerful setup for Zenya, that would be Draco Meteor plus her Sync Nuke, which, you know, doesn't get added onto too much with their new power boost, other than the Mega Stats, which are still nice, right? Definitely nice. Mega Stats, and there's like 2 extra Sync power nodes. But like the big thing is like, but the big thing everyone gets hyped about is Dragon Ascent, which is just not as good, right? Just not as good as Draco Meteor and her Sync Nuke. So that's what we are ranking Zenya based on. But again, her best scenario, right? The best scenario that her kit could be in and all that stuff, that's a different conversation for how useful Dragon Ascent could be for, you know, especially free-to-play players who don't have that many great, you know, flying type damage healers, right? I think it's fantastic that she got this really nice, and again, it's not saying, I'm not even saying like Dragon Ascent is bad. Dragon Ascent is actually pretty good on her, right? It's just not as powerful as, you know, Draco Meteor, which is fine. You don't have to be as powerful as Draco Meteor, right? Still a really, really nice flying type option. So yeah, again, do gotta differentiate between the strongest setup that Zenya can have when we're trying to rank units in comparison to the great value that she brings with having Dragon Ascent as again a free flying type option for most players, right? Those are two different things. Both are good, right? But again, when we're ranking her, we're not really, you know, considering the Dragon Ascent because of a few things, right? Because like the Dragon Ascent thing does fall into like a bit of like the old blue Karen sort of trap where like you have to sync with her to get Dragon Ascent, and obviously if you are fighting like Flying Week, then you're syncing with like a Dragon sync, which is not a terrible sync, but it's only not like, but it's only like really, really good if you're running it in like Dragon Zone, which if you're fighting Flying Week, why are you running Dragon Zone? You probably would be wanting to run, you know, Flying Zone, right? Which again, that does conflict with each other, and you're taking away one sync from Annie Skyla, which is, you know, one of the, you know, top sync nukers in the game, right? So there is that sort of conflict over there, which is why just outside of just raw damage alone, right? That is one reason why Dragon Ascent is not as good as Draco Meteor, which is why we're not ranking based on Dragon Ascent. if we're ranking on based on Dragon Ascent, she would probably be lower, but which is why we're ranking based on the Draco Meteor setup. But again, doesn't mean that Dragon Ascent is bad as a free option for folks to use in terms of, you know, flying type damage, right? So moving on. I don't know why I had to clarify that much. Anyways, I just don't want people to get the wrong idea. Next one, I'd say is the blue and Arcanine. Right, this blue and Arcanine is actually pretty decent, man. The sync's not bad either, right? It's just that, I mean, it's fire type, unfortunately. So people maybe don't think about him too much, but you know, again, when we are doing these lists and stuff, we don't really, it doesn't really matter, like in terms of competition within a type. It's just, this is how good this unit is. All that other stuff doesn't really matter, right? Just looking at, again, comps, builds, damage output, utility value, right? Depending on the unit, obviously a lot of those different sorts of, you know, things change. But, you know, if you take away the fact that there's a billion really, really good fire type damage dealers, take that away and you look at Blue and Arcanine as a unit, he's a pretty freaking good unit. Is it mostly because he's fire type? Yeah. But actually that's not even fair at this point, right? But he's just a solid unit, man, in terms of damage wise. Like if you look at like numbers, this is what, 770k, and then you got 100 or 1.5 million nuke over here, which is just, again, if you compare it to the other fire types, you're like, oh damn, this guy sucks. But if you don't compare it to other types and just, you know, compare it to like all the other units in the game, this is actually not bad, right? I'm not saying it's like crazy good either, but it's pretty solid. All right, so all right, moving on. So last we got the these three. Surprisingly enough, Nolan's actually really freaking good. Damn, does DNA have a way of making completely, you know, borderline unusable 3-star, 4-star Gacha bug type units into like actually respectable damage dealers? And Nolan is exactly that, right? They made Nolan really, really nice. First of all, his Fury Cutter could actually go up to some really, really solid numbers, right? You know, like his Fury Cutter could almost hit as hard as Arcanine's like Hyper Beam or whatever, right? Which is, damn, right? Because like the thing with Nolan is he has really, really good bases. His base of attack stat is actually pretty decent, right? Especially after you mega him, it's like, if I remember, it's like almost 500 or something like that, or is it 400? Let's see. Oh, they order it by Pokemon generation here. But yeah, like his max, you know, potential Mega Pinsir, 541 in attack is a lot of attack, man. And then again, you got some really, really nice multipliers for Fury Cutter, which Fury Cutter, you know, the extra, these all get multiplied with the Fury Cutter multiplier, right? So that's very, very powerful, very, very good. And yeah, man, he also got the big one, Inertia, with, you know, with this base stat with Inertia, right? I mean, you could easily argue, I think, right, if it wasn't for the fact that he probably, you know, doesn't have an EX, but outside of that, you could easily argue he's better than stuff like Luzamine or Guzma or whatever, right? Whoops. all those other like Gacha bug strikers, which is slightly crazy, so for a unit where he came from, right, which is basically almost unusable. So really, really nice there. And then for these last two, I guess you could argue either way. I personally like Liza's kit a bit more. Drake, yeah, Drake does have the support EX, which is definitely the one big thing that he does have going for him. But Liza overall is just a more valuable support, right, in terms of the things that she buffs, right? She buffs both physical and special attack on top of buffing special defense. She is, you know, in comparison to Drake, she is a 1 gauge spammer, right? Also has the confusion stuff if you really want. And again, Drake's not like bad either, but he does definitely have some issues in terms of a bit of a one-dimensional support, right? But also he's definitely very, very slow, and it shows, unfortunately. But he does have the support EX, which does give him, you know, a really, really nice boost there. So if you really want to rank Drake over Liza because of that, then sure, I guess. But it's just overall like the base kit of in terms of if you're talking about what the support does, I do think Liza's is definitely much better. But again, I don't think Drake's like terrible or whatever, right? Even though it's, like I mentioned before in the Drake video, I really do not like what they did with his grid, unfortunately. But not that I like what they did with Liza's grid that much either, but still. The like base Liza is just better than base Drake, right? So it is what it is. Anyways, that's really this one, I guess. Hope you all know, guys. Think in the comments down below. Like the videos for our channel, some more Pokemon Master, all that stuff. Have fun. We're gonna pull for almost called Steven Brendan. So I'll pull for Steven later tonight, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one then.